Hello and welcome.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Celtic World. You're right there, Brian.
No, I thought I was helping you out there, but there we go.
No, you're all right, mate. Everyone, welcome to a Celtic World, the Celtic YouTube show and podcast for Celtic fans all around the world, made by Celtic fans all around the world. And I'm afraid it's a bit of a sombre mood tonight round about the Celtic world, but we'll do our best to maybe, I don't know if we'll lighten the mood, but we'll give it our best to divert your attention off current proceedings on the pitch. And I'm delighted to be joined by two stalwarts of a Celtic world. I'll just go first to Eddie in Thailand. How are you doing, Eddie? And how's things in Bangkok?
All good, Stephen. Yeah, hello everyone, and welcome to the cast, the stream from Bangkok. Well, just outside Bangkok, actually. Pretty dull, horrible day, but I still managed to get a good walk in. Gets an opportunity for an hour just to clear your mind, but doesn't really work that way. It still goes through what's happened in the last 24 hours. But yeah, all good apart from that.
And also joining me from just across the water from Celtic Park is Brian in Banbridge. How are you, Brian? What about you?
Yeah, it was good until 12:30 yesterday. Well, 2:30, should I say, after the result. But, you know, I'm not even going to comment on it anymore. It's 7 games to go. There's no great team out there. I think there will be more twists and turns, but we just got to keep positive. That's all we can do at this stage.
Yeah, that's all we can do. Obviously, we're going to talk about the events of yesterday up at Tannadice. We'll chew the fat a bit about the game and who we thought was very bad and who we thought was just bad, and whether there's and maybe ask the question on everybody's lips today around about Celtic socials: is that it for our league campaign for this year? We'll discuss that and see if there's any way back into this title race for us. We'll talk about the future, what the summer has to look like, what it's likely to look like. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk a bit about the stadium ban for the Green Brigade and the charlatans, shall we say, running our club. But I'm sure that will come up as part of the conversation quite naturally. So as it says along the bottom of the screen there, if you like what you hear, give us a wee like and a subscribe, as it helps the channel and helps us grow. I think we're up to about 2,500 subscribers now, which is not bad, considering we've only been going a couple of years. And hello to everyone in the comments. You can all join us this morning or this evening or this afternoon or whatever it is, where you are. Just a coin there saying hail, hail. Hail, hail to you, mate. Craig McLean in the house. Hail, hail, lads. Our old friend, Strange Love, the Doctor. Good morning, Celts. Smell the glove. Hail, hail, Trippers. And Strange Love, the Doctor, said again, before we all get tore in, I'm still hopeful we win this league, so I'm not of a mind to concede anything at this stage. Okay, so that'll form part of our conversation. I'm sure we'll revisit that a lot during the course of tonight or this morning, wherever you are. So we'll jump straight in and we'll talk about the game, and we'll have a look at the team lineup first. Obviously, the gentleman you see on your screen there, larger than life, or very much larger than life, was probably the biggest surprise of the starting 11. I don't think anybody foresaw that one. But Eddie, what were your thoughts when you saw that starting 11 come out about an hour before kickoff?
Well, it's like every starting lineup we've had for the past few months. It's always like a lucky draw. You don't know what you're going to get. You know, what's the comment from Tom Hanks guy? You know, the box of chocolates. You just don't know what you're going to get. It's just like that. So there was a few surprises for me. Obviously, the first one was McGregor. I didn't think for one minute he'd be starting and be back this early, which obviously we'll talk about it. But that kind of proved to be probably a poor decision, really. And yeah, in actual, I think that's his first start since the cup final, if I'm not mistaken, right? League Cup final, I think he played. So that was a bit of a surprise. And Donovan as well, but then there was no one else because the mysterious Arujo now seems he's back with Bournemouth and may not be back with us. And I know there's some other wacky stories about the guy, but I think that's just nonsense. So I was a bit surprised. There was like Arthur back in there, which again I expected Trusted to be in there, but to be honest, Arthur didn't really do much wrong. And yeah, Iheanacho and McGregor. That was the two big shocks for me. But what I tend to do is look more at the bench these days, because it's just interesting to have a look at the bench and who's sitting there. Because you're just thinking, well, eventually we're going to need to call on that bench, because we have done every sort of game and searching for somebody to make a change. And there was surprises on the bench as well. So again, there was people there. Where was Tam? Chavanchara wasn't even on the bench. But there was nothing about him being injured or being whatever. And then we're told he's mysteriously ill again. And ill seems to be the excuse for injured lately, or seriously injured, or whatever it is. But it seems to be a code word for he's not playing. And again, there were stories that he was in trouble, and he was at training on Friday by all accounts. So I'm not sure how ill he was during the week. That if he was at training on Friday, what happened overnight and Saturday to not even be on the bench? So it's all about smoke and mirrors at the moment for me. I'm not surprised what I see anymore. It's just, okay, what is going to be the surprise, and how many of them is going to be, both on the bench and in the starting lineup?
Yeah, Brian. There's a lot of as Eddie says, there's a lot of rumours circulating about Julian Araujo and Thomas Schmeichel, and a lot of it's centred around of off-field stuff. I mean, these are only rumours, hearsay at the moment, but it's very disappointing, isn't it, when you see that starting lineup and you see how thin our first team squad is, and we can ill afford to lose two of our better players, really. So, do you put any stock in any of these rumours, and what did you think of the starting lineup?
I haven't heard any of the rumours. What were they? Can you say?
So the rumour is that, it's probably not a rumour at all, but Araujo's gone back to Bournemouth.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Ostensibly to get treatment on a calf strain, but there's a bit of twittering on the social sphere today that he'd been sent back to Bournemouth for some off the field transgressions by Celtic, and the mood music was that we wouldn't see him again this season, and that's him gone. And Schmeichel, as Eddie alluded to there, they said he was ill, but he trained on Friday and looked absolutely fine. So he was another one. I don't know if you saw the social media stuff about them all being out after the last Huns game. They were out in Wunderbar, which is a very trendy club in Glasgow city centre, and Araujo was swinging around off the rafters, and apparently Schmeichel was noising up some Huns and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any truth in it, but we'll leave those rumours for now. What were your thoughts on the starting lineup when you saw it?
Again, very, very surprised to see Tierney, Iheanacho, and McGregor in, and very surprised not to see Sirachi on the pitch. Iheanacho, I mean, he hasn't been seen, and for him to come into that game, I think at the minute, Stephen, there doesn't seem to be any kind of leadership at the club, and I think the whole thing with Schmeichel coming out and talking about retiring or the injury and stuff, and not even mentioning his parent club, is quite disgraceful, and it's undermined Martin, I think. And I noticed Martin during the week there with the questions about the medical team. He got really irate, and it's like there seems to be no communication at the club, no consistent sort of, and if those rumours are true, and if the two boys have been sent packing, that's a great shame, because there were two of our better players, and to bring Iheanacho out from the cold. I mean, many games has he played in the last 3 years? I don't know, but like it's not gone. It's not gone. But Jesus, they're making life difficult for themselves, and I'm just shocked. I'm not shocked. I'm just sort of, I don't know. I said like a couple of weeks ago, I thought we would have come away with 6 points from the 2 Dundee games, and there's still 3 points to play for, but it's not in our hands anymore. And I watched Hearts, and they weren't any great shakes, but I don't know. I'm looking at that team and going, who's going to get you out of jail there? I thought, Scales hasn't been great recently, but we can only play. I mean, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We never do. But it'd be disappointing if those 2 lads didn't come back. And if that's the case, then it's quite disappointing.
Yeah, I think that tweet, I kind of debunked it a little bit, because it also said that there was other players in that video and in the pictures from that bar that hadn't had a start since, apart from Sinisalo, and one of them was Chivanchara. He played against Motherwell, so I don't hold much sort of credence to that statement, to be honest, that rumour.
Yeah, okay. Since we've touched on it, Brian, we'll spend a bit of time talking about it before we get into the game. We'll talk about the Kasper Schmeichel situation, because I think that was it's a big thing for Celtic, a big thing for the management team in particular. And as Brian said, Martinoneill was in the media pre-match, the usual pre-match press conference, and he was saying that he wasn't aware of the significance of Kasper Schmeichel's injury. Now, I don't know. I find that quite hard to believe, considering we could all see he was injured, and we could all see he was struggling for the last number of months. And surely Celtic's medical team would have got their own scans done on his shoulder, and made their own assessment on it. And as Brian says, I think it just speaks to the absolute dysfunctionality of the club at the moment. Eddie, what was your thinking when you heard, or did you see Schmeichel on CBS Sports with his dad telling the world that basically he was more or less retired from football?
Well, my first reaction was to pick my jaw up, because I just couldn't believe he was doing it in that forum, without anything coming from the club. That was my first reaction. I wasn't wholly surprised, because, as you've just said, we've all seen his performances. We've all known he's protected that side of that side for months and months. And even Martinoneill said that he was feeling sick from reactions to injections. Well, if you're feeling ill after reactions to injections, they've got to be pretty special injections to make you feel that bad. But I think I got a bit of stick because I made a bit of a kind of comment about O'Neill's presser then. I just don't think he should engage. I know it's the Scottish press, I get it, and they're all going to be all over it like a rash, this whole subject. But Martinoneill old enough and bold enough, he should be able to shut that down. If they're trying to follow a party line, don't get involved in a to and from with the press. Just shut it down and move on. And you're there to talk about Dundee United. Ask me questions of that. The club will make a statement when the club make a statement, and then you'll have your answers. Let's move on to Dundee United. I mean, I watched Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe got questioned the other day or yesterday about his future of his club captain in Brazil. And he literally just shut it down. He just said, I'm not interested. He's the club captain. He's committed to the club. He's staying where he is. Next question. That's it. That's all you have to do. I mean, press conferences are a nightmare for me. I mean, Brendan Rodgers talked in riddles. Nancy I wouldn't listen to anyway, because I knew he wasn't going to be there very long. And I've started not to listen too much to Martin. He went backwards because he was doing all this so-called funny stuff for a while, and then he stopped and he was serious coming up to a couple of the Rangers games. And now he seems to have reverted back to that again, which, in the situation we're in, I think he should just be a bit more focused and a bit more, not so much the funny guy,
The Scottish, sorry, Eddie, the Scottish journalists aren't what you call Albert Einstein. Do you know what I mean? And Martin's an intelligent man. He's a qualified solicitor, barrister, whatever the terminology is. He shouldn't be rising to the bait, and they're baiting him, and he's rising to it.
absolutely.
He should know. You say just shoot it down. You know what I mean? Eddie Howe had a question about his captain. He shut it down immediately. You know, he can control. Like Brendan would have just sat there and went like that, whereas Martin seemed to be rising to the bait. You know, but who knows, lads?
Brian, what do you think? Do you guys think? I'll go to you first, Brian. Do you think this all reflects quite badly on Kasper Schmeichel as a person? The fact that he's obviously been playing while not fit to do so, clearly in an attempt to get into the Denmark squad for the World Cup. And there's been a lot of chat this week that it does speak very badly to his character. What do you think, Brian?
If it was me, I mean, everyone knew that his performance levels were shocking, and he was playing with or without injury. But if it was me, I would have him out of the club immediately. I would cancel his contract because he put in Martin. He's undermined Martin's leadership. He's come out and said things to the club. I'm sure there's breach of contract and there's all kinds of things there. I would have him gone. Just get him gone. He seems to be like a bit of a bad penny about the place. And
I think at no point did he say anything about Celtic, as we've mentioned, and he didn't say anything about, we're stuck in the middle of a title race here. I'm going to stick around and try and help the other goalkeepers. Like he was going to try and help Sinisalo or use his experience or anything like that. He didn't say a word like that. And it's almost as if he's airbrushed his Celtic career from existence, Eddie. So were you a bit annoyed by that?
I was, and I was also surprised that the next day he was pictured at Lennoxtown having a laugh and a joke with Martinoneill. I mean, if I'd been Martinoneill and I kicked his backside and told him to get back his motor, to be honest.
Get straight back out, yeah.
Get back in your motor and do what you want. Don't go and see your doctor, because obviously you're not talking to our doctors. So, the whole thing was badly managed. But then, should we be surprised? I mean, everything that this board does, it just turns to pot anyway. The communications is awful. They pay the blind bit of notice to anybody, it seems. And for Martinoneill to be the scapegoat and sit there in front of the Scottish press and have to say, well, we knew nothing about it. Well, we didn't know the extent of it, and we didn't know the extent of the layoff, is madness, really. That should have come from the club straight away. So, you shouldn't have put Martinoneill in that position. Neither Schmeichel should have done it, nor the club.
Stephen, my battery's about to die on my laptop. I'm just going to run downstairs and get it. Okay. So, professionalism,
right. Yeah. That's it. The beauty of being live. All right, so Eddie, we'll probably just jump in and talk a bit about the game. And before we talk about the game itself, I just want to get one thing out the way, because this is going to sound like an excuse for our performance yesterday. But I just want to touch, and I think we'd be remiss not to mention the pitch at Tannadice. I believe it's probably the worst I've ever seen for a professional game of football. Certainly the worst grass pitch I've ever seen for a professional game of football. And I think it reflects really, really badly on the Scottish game that we're asking teams to play on surfaces like that, to the point where it was almost unplayable. You would always be looking to the referee to postpone that match because the pitch was unplayable. But obviously, you get the usual sort of story. It's the same for both sides, etc., etc. But we're a team renowned for getting the ball down and playing football. Maybe not so much this season, but normally. So it was always going to be harder for us. So were you horrified by the state of the pitch?
Yeah, one of my first comments as soon as the stream came up for me, I just took one look at it and I thought, what a complete mess. And I think I said to you before we started off, even my other half looked at it and said, well, why are they playing on that? It looks like a beach. That was her first comment. And I mean, she's not a football expert, but anybody can see that was not the greatest pitch in the world. People saying, well, it was the same for both sides. Well, yeah, of course it's the same for both sides. And I don't think they had any advantage in the fact that they play on it every 2 weeks. It's probably not like that every 2 weeks. I don't expect. But yeah, pretty awful. I mean, I had guys from English friends of mine sending me messages going, what on earth is that? Is this, but it's Scotland, I suppose. But I can't remember what Dens Park looks like, because that's just across the road. So I don't remember that being as bad as that. So nobody can blame the weather if the two pitches are completely different. So is it done on purpose? I don't know. It's a conspiracy theories, I guess, but it was a shambles. It was an absolute shambles of a pitch. And yeah, I mean, they'll look at pitches if they're waterlogged. They'll look at pitches if they're too hard, etc., and they'll make a judgment call. But I mean, maybe they don't for that kind of thing. I mean, what I did notice was a lot of the time the players were hucking stuff out from their studs. There was a lot of that going on, I noticed. So whether the sand was the sand that was there was clogging up their studs or what, I don't know. But certainly it wasn't a great advert for Scottish football. That's for sure.
Yeah, I turned on after our game finished. I turned on the Newcastle Sunderland game, and basically it was being played on a bowling green. Basically, it was just lush green grass, and it was almost like a different sport, to be honest with you. And I know obviously that the levels, the EPL are levels above the SPFL, but it was just so much easier to play football in that, Brian. We were just saying when you nipped away there, how we're just getting the discussion about the pitch out the way first, because we don't want to use it as an excuse for the performance, but I think it'd be remiss not to mention it.
Yeah, it's embarrassing when you look at the grounds around. Hibs pitch was always always a sort of, didn't it used to sink in the middle, and what's Hibs ground again? My memory's gone. Easter Road. Yeah, it used to be a thing where it used to sink in the middle. You've got Motherwell pitch was like a shuck, which is an Irish phrase for a mud bath. The Arabs, as they say, the Dundee United, I mean, the pitch, and then you've got the plastic pitches. So it's not a great advert for Scottish football. I know Parkhead, our pitch is usually decent. Hearts isn't too bad, but it's quite small. And the Mankey Mob, their pitch isn't decent enough, kind of, Nick. But other than that, it's disgraceful for the league. You know what I mean? Running around having that as an advert, it's almost like taking a piss. Excuse my French. And it's like Scotland. Scotland are going to the World Cup. Scotland have 11 great half decent players, and then you see that as an advert. But look, it's they needed their flip flops on yesterday. I don't know. It's just not a good look, and they were able to cancel the game in Aberdeen because the ball wouldn't bounce. I think there's a lot of people, as I mentioned earlier about this Celtic team, that they're like working for. It's like working for a government or something like that, and there's a load of temp workers in. They don't care. There's people in there that are just don't care really about the club, and they're not winners. And if the rumours are true about the two loanees, then yeah, they've no place. They've no place at our club. But it's not great to have that type of pitch, and I'm not making excuses for the team, because this Celtic team, they're consistent. They'll always let you down, and the sum of all parts that you don't know. It's a lucky dip every time Martin picks a team, and I feel sorry for him if that's the case with those two loanees, and like what Schmeichel's done, and that's, to me, they should just cancel his contract. But nobody has any guts to do this. They don't have anything, And then there's a guy from Heineken we've just appointed, some sort of commercial manager. I can't remember that job being advertised. Not that I would have applied for it, but
we'll talk about that one. We'll maybe try and catch up to that news later on in the day. Yeah. Another St. Aloysius old boy is been shaken out of this worldwide search they've had. How much of a coincidence is that, lads? So I think it's probably time we take our medicine and jump in and talk a little bit about the game itself. All right. So I've got some pictures to run through, and this is early on in the game, and I don't think we started the game that badly. This was a really good chance for Kieran Tierney. The ball broke to him from a corner, I think, and he managed to make a little bit of space. But unfortunately, he lost control of the shot, and it went high, wide, and handsome from this point here. So he should probably have done better, if we're being honest. And this was one the United were threatening as they got round the back of us here. You can see the free man just down on the edge of the box here. I think it was that Will Ferry, the guy who ended up scoring. And he's got a shot there, and it was actually a really good save by Sinisalo, as it turned out. Eddie, what do you make of Sinisalo's performance in general?
I think I've said before, I like his confidence, and I like the way he's kind of loud. He's coming for balls when people weren't. The only thing that sticks in my craw is the thing between him and Scales about a goal kick. For the life of me, I don't understand why he's got to stand in the middle of the goal and Scales takes the goal kick and kicks it across to him, and then he runs at it and loops it forward anyway. I don't, for the life of me, I can't understand that kind of football. It's just bizarre, but he's obviously been told that's what to do. But yeah, I like him. I think he'll do us a good turn. And at least, as I say, he can dive to both sides. He's gone to his left there. I don't know whether Schmeichel would have got that. It was a good save, and I think the commentary teams and stuff missed it because they were moaning about the fact that they had a corner afterwards, but it was a good save. That was why it was a corner. So yeah, I'm happy with Sinisalo in there. It's just nice to see a goalkeeper dominating his space.
Yeah, I thought he played well. I wouldn't attribute any, well, certainly not much blame to Sinisalo for any of the goals we lost, and that was certainly a good save there. Just move on to the next sort of incident of note. And this was a really good pass from Hatate. I thought Hatate had a really good first half. I don't know what you guys thought. I'll go to you, Brian, with this one. Hatate, like everybody else, was struggling to get the ball under control on the sandpit. But he managed to find a really good pass in here to Iheanacho, who you can see making a really good run off the shoulder of the last defender. And he threw the keeper basically after this. And pulls out a really good save. You can see there the keeper just gets his foot to it and no more. It was a good effort from Iheanacho. Brian, I think we were in top at this stage, but we weren't really creating much. But that was a good opening, wasn't it?
Yeah. And again, Iheanacho's not what you call match fit either, but he still has an eye for the goal. And Hatate is just our only kind of shining light at the minute. You look at him and Tierney, and Negron, that's where the goals are coming from. And Iheanacho, I just don't know. He's you could have anyone up there at the minute, but I suppose it'd be great to have a team that could maybe put in a 90 minutes, as opposed to he was in fits and starts. He lasted 50 minutes, but not great. Not great analysis from me, but
that's all right, mate. It's as good as any I've heard.
No.
But Eddie, we'll get your opinion on how Iheanacho did as well while we're here. I thought he done okay first half. Had a few nice little touches. This effort and goal, but he's just not fit, is he? And he hasn't been fit all season long.
No, he hasn't. This was a good one because he took it first time as well. Very unlucky, as it shows there. He just got it with his foot and his hand there. So another couple of inches to the left of the keeper, and that was in. And I think it was a shame. I think Sinisalo was trying to find him with the long balls on a few occasions, and he just wasn't quite getting them. They were kind of going over his head slightly. But yeah, he had a couple of good touches. But I think the telling thing is even Martinoneill said we'll see how long he lasts. And I think he said that about a couple of players, So they know that he's only going to be there for 55, 60 minutes maximum. The worrying thing from that is then what do you do then? What's the plan after that? Depending on what the score is. But you've got to give him his due. He's not played for a long time, and he comes on, and that was his best moment without a doubt. But I think he just needs to get fed the ball more, and maybe not up in the air. So he looks like he's the kind of player that may be able to hold on to it and allow people to go past him.
Yeah, I think technically he's probably a decent player, but he's just not mobile enough and not fit enough to get around the ground. I think it was Chris Sutton mentioned in commentary that he was blowing out his arse just before half time. And I was actually quite surprised to see him coming out for the second half. I thought they would make the change at half time, but he was clearly gone by that time. And I think that's a really damning indictment of the player. That, you know, I don't believe he's been injured for a while now. He has had a couple of niggling injuries, the one he got in the cup final. We mentioned his performance in the cup final earlier, but I think he's been injury free for a while, Brian, and it doesn't really talk much to his commitment as a professional, that he's still not match fit.
Yeah, and I mean, when did we get him in? It was like after the August transfer or January. No, he came in after.
No, he came in just after the summer.
Yeah. Start of the summer, and he's still not fit. Like, you know, I mean, geez, I'm 55, coming 55 years of age. And I'd like to think if somebody said to me, try and make Brand shift a couple of stone there and get match fit, I would be able to do it. You know, but then I believe he's back and forth down to London. He went down to see Mr. Tumble for all those young parents out there. That's your guy, you know, the Mr. Tumble. He's like a children's presenter, so he took his kids down to that. So I don't know. As his focus on the game, you know, there's. I don't know. I'm looking forward to all these guys leaving Celtic. And there's really at the minute, and there's not really one. There's maybe 2 or 3 I'd keep, and not everyone else just go. And Maeda, sorry, I just want to say this: Maeda is not a footballer. Maeda is I don't know what he is, but I'd put him in nets at this stage. You know, he's that bad.
He has a good laugh about it as well. He played the game with a smile on his face. I don't know if it's appropriate all the time, but, you know, sometimes, you know, when he's just after miscontrolled the ball for the 100th time and he's got a little sarcastic smile on his face, it does wind me up a bit, I have to say. But we'll move on. We'll maybe talk more broadly about the whole team and rant and rave a bit about individuals once we went through the match stills. But this is into the second half now, and you can see here there's a really poor pass from McGregor into Hatate, who gets his pocket picked by the United player. There was a little bit of a talk. It was maybe a foul, but it wasn't. It was looked at by VAR. The ball makes its way out to our left-hand side. I don't think Tierney does enough to stop that ball coming in for me, but it runs through a few different players' legs and ends up at Will Ferry at the back post here. And he makes an absolute mess of the shot. But for some strange reason, Donovan managed to contrive to get something on the ball and diverts it just over Sinisalo into the net, and it's 1-0 to them. Eddie, talk me through that goal from your point of view, starting with McGregor's terrible pass to Hatate.
Well, yeah, as soon as that happened, that was my first. As soon as the goal went in, I said, that's Carmack's fault all over. It was just awful. And he did it 2 or 3 times. I mean, I think he did it not long after that as well. So, awful ball. I don't think it's his fault. I still don't think he should have been playing from the start. And then, even when the ball comes across and goes on through these players, 2 of those players turned their back on that ball as if it was going to get them, you know, as if it was going to, beat them up or whatever. But they just turned their back on it and it went past them. Okay, Donovan's made an effort, but I don't think he had the greatest game either yesterday, Donovan. Awful goal to lose, really. But for me, it was Carmack and that off. I mean, I don't know how many times I remember being told when I was a kid, don't play that ball. You know, a square ball between the halfway line and the 18-yard box. Just don't do it, you know. But he's just done it, and he did it 2 or 3 times during the game.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad pass, and it was a bad way to give up possession. Certainly not. It was very unlike Callum McGregor, but to be fair to him, it was on the halfway line, and it was still a long way to go before the ball ends up in our net. So there was a lot of stuff happened in between, Brian, but it was poorly defended all round.
Yeah, I mean, what's Arthur doing there? You know, I'm disappointed he didn't bring Trusty in for the game. I know I'm going off on one, but you know, I just don't know what's going on at the minute. It's worrying me, and the fact that you have the Schmeichel debacle, and then the two boys allegedly. Yeah, and I mean, many chances do these Celtic players need in terms of, they're getting an opportunity. There's Donovan had an opportunity, 90 minutes to play, and hasn't really done anything. Dean Murray was the same, and he came in. I don't know if Murray's injured, but there's people getting chances to put the shirt on their back, and they're not taking it. And we keep going back to the well, bringing Donovan stuff like that on, and not Donovan. What do you call him? Not Donovan. My God, the young fella from Dundee. Can't even remember his name. McCann, Luke McCann. I think it's a good thing for us to get the break. I know I'm going off on one, but I think the national break potentially could help us because that's that the way they're playing at the minute is so flat. But I know, Stephen, I sort of didn't really see the game, was back in and out, I was in the garden doing weeding and stuff, and then I come back and watch the game, and it was hateful. I was doing anything but watch the game. It was like, the Sunday night, maybe studying,
Since he's in the picture there, we'll talk a bit about Donovan's performance. I thought he was absolutely dreadful from the moment the game kicked off to the moment he got substituted, and I really hope he's not seriously injured, but it did look like a sore one. But I thought he was awful. Some of his crossing was absolutely putrid. His control, and you can't blame the pitch, but he's not, even on a good pitch, his ball control is not that good. And his defensive awareness is just all over the place. And I think it's sort of a damning indictment of our youth development policy, because Donovan kind of fell into the first team when Alistair Johnson got injured and looked as if he was going to miss a chunk of the season. And it was only him and Ralston who were right backs at the club until Araujo arrived at Christmas time. So that's the only reason Donovan's there at all. And I just don't think, my opinion is, he's just not up to the standard required of a Celtic player. Eddie, what do you think?
No, unfortunately, I have to agree. I mean, we were talking the other week about, how many players have got for different positions. So we, for right back, we've got 4, I think, right? So you've got AG, obviously, who's not back there yet. Araujo, we don't know whether he's going to be back or not. We've got Donovan, we've got Ralston. Now we're sitting here and we're going, well, okay, we're playing Donovan. He'll come off. We'll put McCowan there and put Hatate at right back. And Ralston get your gear back on again that you were taking off. So, for me, Donovan's not the right back that we should be having. And obviously, if Araujo was there, he'd have been playing.
What's going on with Sarachi? I would have him on every, obviously KT and plays on the left as well. But I would rather have Ralston in there, who is on paper a right back, and okay, maybe a 6, 7 out of 10, but he's reasonably consistent and he's good delivery. I'm not doing a bit of revisionism on Tony Ralston, but you know what you get with him.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, Sarachi must be feeling a bit aggrieved that he can't get a game with this team, to be honest with you. Even if he plays out of position at right back or something, he'd be better than what's on offer. Just before we talk about this one here, this is just after the substitution, I think one of you guys was alluding to earlier. And I think I made a point in our group chat that this was the worst substitution I've ever seen in all my years of watching football. And that is when Donovan got injured. You've got a straight swap on the bench there for bringing in Anthony Ralston on and slotting straight in there at right back. But no, he brings Luke McCowan on and moves Hatate to right back. And in doing so, in one fell swoop, weakens 2 positions, because Hatate's never a right back, and he ended up getting really badly exposed there. And Luke McCowan, I mean, again, he's just not up to the standard of playing for Celtic, and he's certainly not going to create anything for you in the middle of the park. So I was aghast at that substitution. Eddie, what was your take?
Yeah, me the same. I mean, the you could see in the cameras, the TV cameras, they called Ralston back. He came running back. We could see him taking his kit off, and then it cut away. And then next thing we knew, McCowan was on, and Ralston was sat back on the bench again. And then you had Hatate right back, and I agree with you entirely. I thought this is the most bizarre thing. What was the thinking? McCowan then just spent the rest of the game running around as if his head was on fire, as he tends to do in these sort of circumstances. He's got no composure whatsoever, the lad, unfortunately. He just literally is running around, swinging his foot at everything he can with no real composure most of the time. So that was gone. And then, Hatate, he was found lacking at the back. As you say, he's not a right back. I think we've stuck him there a couple of times in the past, in certain circumstances, but he's obviously not very comfortable there, not defending. He might be comfortable as he's coming away with the ball from there because he's facing the right way up the pitch. Whereas in the midfield, he's sometimes got his back to where he should be going. But I was completely baffled as well, absolutely baffled. And then, we'll probably move on to the next one when the next change is made, and then Yang's back there. Initially when I thought McCowan was coming on, I thought we were just going to throw everything at them and say, right, okay, we'll just stick 3 at the back, and strengthen that. And in that case, you might have then maybe stuck Trusty on or something. I don't know, but that, it was bizarre, especially when you saw Ralston getting changed at first.
Yeah, that was what jumped out at me. Ralston obviously thought he was coming on, and somebody at some point changed their mind. Now it speaks to me about an absolute shambles in the dugout there, with nobody really knowing who's doing what or who's making the call. Somebody's made a call for Ralston to come back, get stripped, your own son, and then all of a sudden said, no, wait a minute, we'll put Luke McCowan on, and whoever made that decision has certainly got it badly wrong. So, just get back to the game. So this is Hatate coming in from right back, and he's had a shot at goal here, and this is one that almost fortuitously got us back in the game, and we didn't really deserve it. The keeper's made an absolute bollocks of this. It's gone right through his hands, hit the post, and then bounced on the line. And I think last week when Oxley-Chamberlain shot against Motherwell, absolutely, completely against the laws of physics, stayed out the goal. The laws of physics were again against us here, because I've no idea how that didn't bounce in after it's bounced off the post, but it didn't. It bounced back out.
Rumours are there was a Hon magnet put inside the ball. I don't know the physics of that, Stephen. Obviously, you're a bit more of an engineering physics background, but that was the rumor I heard. That they're putting magnets in the balls and stuff like that, so Celtic can't score.
That's a serious conspiracy theory that stretch that one.
I wouldn't be, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised. We've tried everything.
Yeah. So next up, next on the chopping block, we've got our old friend Benjamin Negrin, who was another one who was just absolutely hopeless and worse than a man down. And he looked as if he was playing with the wrong shoes on. To be honest, one of the worst performances I've seen from him all season. We have got a lot of goals from him, and you can't take that away from him, but his all-round contribution to the game, and to this game especially, was just woeful. Eddie, are you going to go into bat for Benjamin Negrin, or were you as fed up as me?
Absolutely not batting for him. No, I thought he was poor the whole game, and I think the only reason he hangs on in there and they keep him on is because he's the guy who's getting the goals. But he just didn't seem to be playing as far forward as he normally does. So he was never going to get a chance at goal, to be honest. I just think he was slow. He can't get up for a header. He can't win headers, it seems, in that area. He won't fight. He's just not a fighter. And he's not like sometimes Yang will get back and Maeda will get back defensively. I don't really see him doing that very much. He had an awful game. He wasn't the only one, though, to be fair. There was a lot of players did that yesterday that didn't show up at all. But yeah, Negrin was especially bad for me.
Do you believe we've lost a few fighters in the team? When I say fighters, I mean people who are quite aggressive and mouthy with the two lads going. Who's
maybe
there?
I think
who's there in the pitch?
they definitely missed Araujo's passion and his drive and his aggression.
That's the
I
word I was
think,
looking for, aggression.
Without question, they missed that for sure. But Kev 166 is the comment of the day there, just shite, which is exactly what it was, and exactly what Negrin was. He was just shite.
I hope it's about Negrin, not about the cast.
Okay, so moving on. This is yeah. Maybe we're talking shite. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Rule that out either.
Maybe just clarify that.
So this is yeah. So just a few minutes later, you can see the United get the ball out left here, and Hatate's doing his best in the right back position there, but he's not a right back. He's just gone to ground there and got absolutely done by the winger, who's got it into the box. There's been a bit of a stramash, as Arthur Montford would have said. And the ball's ended up out at the edge of the box, and I can't remember this guy's name for the life of me.
Is that his name?
Yeah, I think you might be right, Brian. Yeah,
the BBC Sport
he's lashed it. Oh, you're cheating!
I'm cheating. Yeah,
and of course it's took a deflection off our old pal Scalesy, and into the back of the net it goes. And it's 2-0. So, yeah, pretty poor stuff. And can you hear me, guys?
Eddie? Yeah, I can hear you.
Can hear you okay, I think, Stephen.
You got me, guys?
Oh, there we are.
Yeah,
okay. So there it goes, nestling in the bottom corner of the net, and Sinisalo can't get across to it. Another really bad goal to lose, Brian.
Yeah, I just don't get the whole thing about Scales. I don't think he's our level, and it's another. I wouldn't say architects of our own downfall, but that team's not going to win the league. Name 11 players on that pitch. It just seems to be we're always waiting on the next guy to come back. It's like he's going to save the day. On, I'm starting to say it now. Oh, if Trusty had been there, that wouldn't have happened. But Trusty might have got sent off. So it's a case of we've got 7 games to go, and it's which of the teams are going to be the less pish out of the 3.
Just go back to the goal, Eddie. Obviously, Hatate brutally exposed. He got substituted not long after that, and we ended up with our third right back of the day in Yang, who's possibly the most bizarre of the 3 to be playing there. But I thought Hatate looked really pissed off when he came off, and I really hope, Hatate's the ultimate confidence player, and he has been playing a lot better the last couple of weeks, and I hope it doesn't knock his confidence and set him back a few weeks, because he's all we've got in midfield at the moment in any creative sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was in agreement with you. I think in the first half, I thought he was the best player in the first half, and I think he was certainly hacked off by the fact he was stuck in right back for whatever it was, not for very long, and then to be brought off as well. So he's got every right to be peeved at it. But again, he must be thinking, well, how come it's me? when there's people on here who have done nothing, or are a liability or empty shots, So yeah, he must be just thinking, well, what have I got to do? What have I got to do? But again, like I said at the beginning, when you look at the team sheet and then you look at the bench, you're just scratching your head and thinking, well, what's plan B and plan C? Because you can't see it. I can't see it on the bench. I just don't know what the plan, because you've got people on the bench that that they're not going to be used. So yeah, it's a bit odd.
Yeah, so moving into the last stage of the game, old Jamesy Forrest gets wheeled out and dusted off for the last 10 minutes as usual. And I always think, he looks the most likely to do something when he comes on. I mean, I don't know. I think I'd be playing him for the first 10 minutes of the game rather than the last and see if he can get us a goal in front. He looked the most likely to do something. But this sort of summed up our day, this sort of passage of play here. He's come in off the right-hand side on his left foot, had a bit of a swing at the ball, completely ailed it. And it sort of somehow found its way through to Hatate, who's managed to get a toe in the ball. Keeper saved it, and the ref gives a goal kick. And if that doesn't sum up the day, then I don't know what does. It was just awful, and that was just about the game. After that, one other guy I just want to talk about quickly, Alex Oxley-Chamberlain arrived with a bit of fanfare in the January transfer window. I thought he was dreadful today. He's another one I think it doesn't look fit, and if he's not match fit, when we signed him, my concern was, well, why is no one at the bottom end of the Premiership or even the top end of the Championship took a chance in this guy? He's been out of contract since the summer, and I think, Eddie, you can really see why, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, he was awful when he came on. And there's one clip kicking around where I think he fires it. I think it was Yang, and hits off Yang, and then bounces back, and it's miscontrolled by Arthur, and Arthur just piles it across to Tierney, who has got no chance of getting it, and it just looks like a comedy, like a complete comedy show. I mean, he put a couple of long range passes together, but actually he's more of a short passes that were awful, and his control was awful as well. He might have been thinking, "What the hell am I doing playing on this ploughed field?" He might have been thinking that, and couldn't cope with it from knowing where he's played before. But yeah, I mean, he's not fit. He just doesn't even look up for it. I mean, that game,
even his tackling, Eddie, last couple of weeks, he was lucky to stay on the pitch. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't think he's a dirty player per se, but that just proves that he's not match fit. That he's not fit. If you're that slight second of delay, but you look, there's an opportunity to win the league and the cup double, and if the team can't get themselves up for it, then they don't need to be here. But I agree with you.
Yeah, so that was it. So that was it. Game gone. 2-0 defeat up at Tannadice. Pretty grim. Then after the game, we saw the scenes developing up in the main stand area with members of the Celtic support. Giving it tight to the board of directors, quite rightly so, in my opinion. And they're all just there looking straight ahead, staring to some point in the distance, all except for you can see the guy in the back row there in the middle. That's Mark Hargreaves, Celtic's head of security. He's glaring over at the plebs who are daring to question their masters. Eddie, I mean, it threatened to get a bit nasty after the game at this point, and I think people just had enough of these guys.
Yeah, they have. I think we all have, but you can see by their stance, the way they're standing there, and Nicholson's of this world, they're just staring straight ahead. It's water for ducks back to these guys. They're just so thick-skinned. It's they might feel it for the 5 or 10 minutes it happens, but as soon as they're in having a cup of coffee or a sherry or whatever the hell they're having after the game, they just brush it off. They're just like, oh well.
Yeah, Nicholson's he's got 800,000 reasons not to be pissed off, and I agree with you. These guys, they're more brass neck than I know. They love money. They love money so much that they will sit. I've said it all along. If it was me, if I was in a job or I was part of a team and every week people were calling me out, you couldn't physically do it. You couldn't have the mental health, and it just shows you they're sociopaths, and that's why they're in the positions they're in, because they don't have a heart. They don't. It's the old boys club. They know it's like a poor man's version of Eton, and clowns that fucking end up Boris Johnson, Cameron, and all these ones, and Jacob Rees-Mogg that end up becoming the highfalutin members of the Conservative Party. That's basically what Celtic are. We're like a a Poundland version of that with getting the people in and all the rest. And it just sums up the dysfunctionality of the club and how much I've lost as a fan, how disconnected I am as a fan of the club, and it'll play out. It'll always do. Whatever what happens this season, it's going to play out. It's playing out in front of our eyes, and as Smell the Glove says, they have ripped the soul out of the club. And there we go.
Yeah, they certainly have. And every time, sorry, Eddie, on you go, mate.
Oh God, I was just going to repeat again, as I said, it doesn't seem to affect them when they see performances on the field like that. There's no effect, right? They just don't. There's no effect on it. So these guys screaming and shouting at them has even less effect. So you're lost both ways. They're lost. They don't give a shit what's going on the pitch.
You know what they should do, Eddie? The fans should just ignore them, just walk past them, because shouting and screaming is only getting it's only getting our fans annoyed and getting the fuck, because them guys don't give a shit. Excuse my language.
I think what was more kind of upsetting, I think, was when the pictures of the fans above the tunnel giving the players stick when they were going off. That's more worrying for us, I think, than anything else. Because this with this board, as I say, we've seen it for years. It's just in you one ear out the other. There's nothing in between to stop it.
Yeah, so pretty grim stuff. Quick look at the match stats, if anybody's particularly interested. So we had 73.7% possession, 13 shots against their 19, 3 shots on target against their 8, 0 big chances missed, 6 corners against their 7, 2 yellow cards apiece. So it's not exactly, apart from us, having the lion's share of possession, it doesn't exactly spell that we were absolutely hammering on the door to try and get a goal. Here's all your stuff. I noticed Mahesh isn't on today. He would have probably give us all this already. Expected XG, they were 1.51, we were 1.09. So, I think it's fair to say, Eddie, I think the better team won, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they did. And I think, if you ask me, I'd rather have 24 possession, score 2 goals and concede none, than have 76% possession, score nothing and concede 2. So the possession thing is garbage. It's nonsense. Because you can have 74% possession just between the back 4 and McGregor. And that's as far as the possession goes. But 24% and you score 2. I'd rather have that, thanks. I'll have that one, please, not the 76%.
Yeah, and so the big question, Brian, I'll give you first crack at this. So this is where we find ourselves at the moment. So that's the league table as it stands today. So Hearts are top on 66 points. Rangers are second on 63 points, and we are third, 5 points behind Hearts, 2 points behind Rangers on 61 points. I think the maximum tally that we can get for the season now is 82, and that's if we win all the rest of our games, and that would be the lowest point total ever. If we were to win the league, it would be the lowest point total in the history of the SPL for a league champion. So the question is, Brian, is it all over?
It's hanging by a thread. I wouldn't say it's all over, but we're now starting to run out of games, and I'm never going to concede anything. If you look back at the last time Hearts sort of challenged for the league, and we knew what we had to do on the last day of the season. We had to beat, we had to win 5-0, and with team players like Judas and McClure and Roy Aitken and Danny McGree and McStay. This team, there's probably 1 or 2 players. This is probably the worst Celtic team I've seen in my lifetime. And I'm going down the route of watching Willie Faulkner up front Mark McNally in centre defence. What do you call him? Carl Muggleton in nets. This is this team. But if this team managed to win the league, yeah. But again, it's week on week, and Martin can only produce so many miracles. He's so many Hail Marys. Could you imagine if we didn't get those last minute winners and all the rest of it? Where would be now? We'd be sitting about just above, lucky to be above Falkirk, But I'm not gonna throw it in. I'm not gonna throw it away. I'm not gonna throw the towel in just yet. They're not a great team to watch. Celtic. They're not. They're certainly in terms of anxiety and blood pressure and all the rest of it. But till it's physically impossible, I'm not going to give up. And that's because I bleed green and white. And I just want to say as well, thanks to Paddy Lavery for getting me the tickets for the on the 22nd of May. Gav's going to crack up for the McAvenny and Peter Grant. Yeah, so how I'd love to have those two boys back at the club playing, but time will tell.
I don't know about Peter Grant, but certainly thank McAvenny. But yeah, I'll put that comment up there.
Thank you.
If anybody can get along to that, please do, and support all the guys that are putting that stuff on over there. So I've got you, Eddie. What's your take on this? Do you think it's done?
Oh, it's not done until it's done, I guess, is the point. I think that means that Hearts need 17 points, right, to get to one above us. Because obviously we're not going to challenge in terms of goal difference. We've got to be a point ahead of somebody in first place. So it's not done. The challenge, I think, obviously the next challenge is the Dundee game in a couple of weeks' time, going back to Dundee again. If you ask me if we lose that one, I don't know what the run of play is. Do we play second again? Did Hearts and Rangers play before us again? I can't remember what the timings are for that weekend.
Yeah, I think we are playing after them again.
So again, you don't know whether that's a good thing and a bad thing. Obviously, it was a bad thing this weekend, but no, it's still there. But we've got to beat everybody. We've just got to win everything to get that 21 points to get us to 83. And then it doesn't really matter. I mean, Hearts can lose to us and still win the league.
Yeah,
stands.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like I think I definitely think there's more twists to come, and I think all the teams in the top three will drop more points, but sadly I think we will too. And I just think it's to win the league we need to win all 7 of our remaining games, and I think that's a fairly unrealistic expectation for this team at this point in Celtic's history. So I'm not going to say it's done, but it's certainly, as Brian says, we're running out of games, and one more defeat, I think, and it definitely will be fatal. But we can only, move on to next week or the week after against Dundee. Hope that we can get some players back. Maybe Alistair Johnson, maybe Callum Osmond will come in, maybe Arne Engels will come in and make a difference to the midfield. But I can't say I'm confident at all. So unfortunately, I'd love to tell you, I'd love to sit here and say, yeah, everything's going to be all right, but I don't think it is. But anyway, we've still got the cup semi-final, so there is still a chance of silverware there. So we might still get the opportunity to finish the season on a high. So just before we go, we're over the hour already, so I will give a shout out to Paddy Lavery's boy, Oren, who's turned 27 today, please.
Happy birthday, Oren.
Yep.
Happy birthday, Oren.
I hope you have a good one. 27 years old. My son's 28, turning 29 this year, and I've just realised he's never seen an unsuccessful Celtic team in his entire life. Do you know what I mean? And if it's bad for us, it must be really bad for these kids even more than that, because they've never seen it. We've all lived through the 90s when we were garbage. So it's never as bad as that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I do feel for him, but I hope the young man has a good birthday nonetheless. So Anyway, we'll probably call it a day at that. We've got an international break next weekend, so our regular programming, so we'll still be on, but we've got some special guests coming on the show to discuss some worldwide Celtic supporters clubs. So tune in at normal times for that, and that'll be good.
The clocks go forward, Stephen. The clocks go forward, I think, in a couple of weeks.
Yes, you might be right, but I haven't got a clue what goes forward and what goes back.
No idea.
Check your I mean, out here in Australia, I mean, I know our clocks go forward here next weekend on the Easter weekend. So,
so ours go
forward. I don't know what happened. Yeah, spell the clock. Oh no, is it back? Ours go. Yeah. No, sorry, ours go back. Next weekend, the clocks in the UK go forward. Will McMillan's in there putting us all right. Clocks go forward on Sunday. So I can't work out what time the shows will be on. So just check your YouTube. Subscribe.
11:30. I think it's going to be.
Just subscribe to the show. Make it easy for yourself. Hit the notification bell, and you won't miss a thing.
That's right.
All right. So all CS. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks, Brian. I think
Thank you, guys. It's, something. It is therapy. It is therapy, and we brush ourselves down. Well, what was it you were saying to me? What's the new Peaky Blinders movie? Just don't look at the internet for a while. Don't go into Twitter. Just all get together and we'll be positive and see what happens.
Yeah, and watch as much of Paulo Nutini as you can, because he's clearly one of the good guys.
Right, I haven't seen that. What's this one now? I've been off Twitter.
He was in the papers. He was up in a pub in Glasgow, getting captured singing the Rebs up.
Good.
During a pub, and they had him on the Sun front page of the Sun, and it was the biggest scandal in the history of the world. But good old Paulo, seen him myself live here in Sydney. He's a good
just
guy.
Before, so I know Gav's not.
All right,
here,
lads. Thanks to everyone.
I know Gav's not here, and I said I would speak this, but just wondering any more update on the pitch invasions from Ibrox and what's happening? Have they been called out yet? Or does anyone know? Have they been fined or anything, or is it just going to get swept under the carpet like the broken glass?
Yeah,
on the pitch.
I think it's just going to get swept under the carpet, Brian, as we suspected. I mean, I know. One thing, and I don't want to open this can of worms just now because we're over time, but I know the Safety Advisory Group, I had hoped to touch on that tonight. The Safety Advisory Group apparently told Rangers to close the Union Bears section, and Rangers told them to get the fuck. Right? So Celtic are telling us that the Safety Advisory Group are telling them that the Green Brigade can't get back in the ground. It's nonsense. Celtic can tell them to GTF, and we'll let in who we want. But that's the sort of the summary of where we are just now with that. Nothing will happen. Rangers fans will be back in the ground for the next derby match at Celtic Park, and the whole cart just keeps rolling on.
The clue's in the name. It's the Safety Advisory Group.
Yeah, advisory.
They're not a regulatory group. They're an advisory group. So they advise, and you can do what Rangers have done and ignore their advice, or you can tip your hat at them and say, as Celtic have done, yeah, okay, we'll do exactly what you've advised. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Bigger kahunas at the other side.
All right, lads.
Happy Monday.
We'll get in about this one in a future show, but before Gav has a conniption fit at the length of the show, I'll call it a day there. And I'll see you all down the road, and hail, hail.
Hail, hail.
Hail, hail, everyone.